All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Stacy Falvey, and I'm the Adult Services Librarian at the Lake City Public Library. And welcome this morning to Christmas Goes Nuts with Margo. We're very excited to have a few live participants with us today. And just a couple of things to keep in mind before Margo gets started.
That's the big thing.
First of all, we want to avoid distractions. So if you could please keep yourself muted until you have a question, that would be great. We'd really appreciate that. Also, links to our previously recorded programs for the last year and a half are available out on our website. So that includes all of the Margo Zooms that we've been doing, as well as some of our other programs that are related to health and wellness, backyard birds, some of our Minnesota author events. Those are all available out at our website. Also, if you are interested in getting any of the recipes from today's program, just contact the library and they will get a copy to you, or you could contact me and I can email them to you as well. Also, just a quick shout out, we don't have all the details yet, but it looks like we will also be having a Valentine's Day event titled All You Need Is Love and Chocolate. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Margo and we'll learn all about how Christmas goes nuts.
Yeah, I'm watching my Zoom
Good morning.
meeting.
Well, I'm not learning anything.
Okay, all right. Oh, there she is.
Welcome back to my kitchen. For those of you that have been here before, for those of you that haven't, we actually have people with me today, which I'm delighted to share my space. As small as it is, we're nice and cozy in here. And we are going to be making quite a few different things today. And I think we're going to squeeze in an extra recipe. So we're going to start off with our nut bars. And I've been making these. I was trying to figure out how long I've been making these. And I believe I have been making these probably about 30 years. And I think I got the recipe from a really good friend, Sue Lingus from Rochester. And when I started making it and taking it to potlucks at work and that kind of thing, people just went crazy over them. I'm going to call today kind of more about candy because I think these are richer than like a normal bar, especially when you're adding nuts and you're adding all sorts of yummy things to them. And so we've got a lot of nuts that we're going to do today. And so let's go nuts. I'm going to start out with making the shortbread, which is a stick of butter. We're only going to make a 9x13 of this today because of the fact that they are so rich and you're probably not going to cut them very big when you're serving them. And also I think at the holidays, there's a really good chance that you are going to have lots of different items. So this isn't the mainstay, completely the mainstay. I'm just going to mix it in the mixer. I did buy myself, I got to plug it in though. I did buy myself a little pastry cutter and I'm going to work with my granddaughter this winter and we're going to learn how to make biscuits. I'm a terrible biscuit maker. Does anybody like to make biscuits? No, I started watching a show on PBS that was about, it's called Hot Biscuit, and this young woman took her grandma's recipe and she opened all these stores. It was fabulous. So I want to be fabulous like that. You're all ready. Yeah, thank you. So are you. This won't take long. This is the only thing I'm using the mixer for today. And our butter is cold, just so you know, whenever you make a shortbread, you want a cold butter. I'll show you my toy I bought myself. This is the pastry cutter. And if we have nothing but time today, I would have used that and tried to look really cool, but I'm going to use that at a different time because I still have to practice with it. Even at our age, we still have to buy ourselves toys. So we want to get this butter down to about a pea size before we put it in the oven. It's only in there for 10 minutes. Much of what we're going to do today is with the microwave. And so I'll be going back and forth in front of the camera. And I'm sorry if that's distracting. It won't be long though. Otherwise, it'll just turn into a ball. It'll be harder to spread out. I didn't really, yeah, it's just annoying when it's, you know, this way you can just put it on here and it's much easier to spread. And as before, we have to make sure that we have a sink of soapy water here because you want to be able to have your counters cleared off and try to prep everything up so that you go back and you do your dishes at the end and it's not a mess. That's a recommendation. So we're gonna take this and I'm gonna walk in front and we're gonna put it in the oven real quick. My oven is a convection oven and it's at 325. It'll be in there for about 10 minutes. But in the meantime, we're gonna make the topping. So the topping is 2 tablespoons of butter and it's a half of a cup of corn syrup. And I said at the last class, my sisters say I never measure anything, so I'm proving them wrong right now.
I'll be back.
You don't see the people that.
No, but I'm just gonna do this. Stacy, I'm not seeing anybody, but you might want to look at our camera out here. Okay. So we're gonna take this 2 tablespoons of butter, and we're also gonna take the half a cup of Karo syrup. We'll just do there. Thank you. Yep. And we're gonna put in 6 ounces of butterscotch chips, and every bag of chips that you go, if you pay any attention in the store, everybody's got a different size. Some are 10 ounces. It used to be 12 ounces. Some are 10 ounces. Some are 11 ounces. And this one happens to be 10. So 6 ounces is 2/3 of a bag. So I'm gonna put this in my microwave just for a minute. We'll kind of clean up as we go.
Do you ever wear an apron?
I did for 15 years at the shop.
Oh, okay.
Do I wear one anymore? No.
Okay.
I will be covered with flour by the time we're done. Even if I had an apron on. We're gonna talk, well, this morning while we're waiting, I have made the ladies some mulled cranberry raspberry juice. And it's kind of a cider, and we were talking about whether or not you could add wine to that. What I would do, if you were gonna do a mulled, like a wine, what I would do, and my friend Diane Spence did this at a church party one time, is she had a bunch of citrus. I think she had some simple syrup. She had some citrus in there, like citrus, like probably oranges and all sorts of fruits, and probably some orange juice. And then she had a sweet red. And you wait to put the red wine in at the end so that it just sort of heats it through. And then the mulling spices, it's just fabulous. And so that also makes the house smell good. So this is our topping, and the nuts we're going to use are mixed nuts. Now, these mixed nuts are from Sam's Club, and I have used these for years. I love these, but this year they have pistachios in them, so we'll see how that goes. The pistachios they have in here they're dried. They're good when you're eating them as nuts. We'll see how they do it in a baking process. So all I'm doing is whisking up this little butterscotch topping. And then we're going to do the mixed nuts. Now, I know in your lives, you probably have folks that are allergic to different kinds of nuts. And one of my friends is allergic to almonds, and you have to be kind of aware of that. So some of the things we're going to do today are going to be strictly like cashews or something like that. This is a mixed nut without peanuts. I have a grandson that's allergic to peanuts. And so we have to kind of be careful. After running a business for 15 years, you learn a lot about people's allergies. And you learn a lot about things that they can't eat. And so that's one thing that I'm always very aware of. One of the other things that we're going to be doing today is we're going to be using our homemade vanilla again. This I've been making for years. And I dispense it from here. This is in vodka, which is a 1.5 liter of absolute vodka. And it's 6 Penzeys Madagascar vanilla beans. And they're slit open, and then you marinate them in here for about 2 to 4 months. And so when I was running our shop downtown, I would go through one of these with our baking every 2 weeks. They went into all of our baking, our cheesecakes, our cakes, and all of our cookies. And so the hundreds of cookies. And so this I continue on with. One of the things I'm going to do as an alternative today is half of the fudge. I'm going to break off half of the fudge we're going to make, and I'm going to add Bailey's to it. So that adds a little bit of a, what I would consider holiday flavor. And this is when I add the Bailey's, I'm also going to add some toasted pecans. And I toasted the pecans on the stove just to sort of make them a little crisper, and so they hold up really well in the fudge. So that's going to happen in a little bit here. So I'm going to take out the, just have this one second, I gotta get top over here. Thank you. There we go. Our shortbread is ready, so we're going to add some nuts. Now, years ago, and what the recipe says is I would have added a small can of nuts. Don't know how much that is, so we're going to figure it out. But we talked about this at our last class about how you have to worry about real estate. And what I want to do is make sure that this is really covered in beautifully so that everybody gets a wonderful bite. That's 1 cup, maybe 2 cups for the 9 by 13 pan, which would be 4 cups for the 18 by 13 pan. So you want to make sure it's all the way to the edges. By doing that, you can shake it out a little bit. I'm actually going to put a few more in here. We're not going to do the cup, we're just going to take it right from the container. And what's really terrible about these is when the lid is off, my hand is in there, and that's just not good. Not good at all. So what we're going to do is spread these over, get that real estate, because everybody's going to want a cashew for sure. This is the time of year for nuts. We have to wean from them in January. So now we're going to pour the butterscotch topping on over the top. It's very rich, and it has a little bit of a gloss to it, which makes it even more appealing. My oldest son loves these. They're his favorite. He always goes to the tray to see if mom made them. They're still kids even when they're 46 years old. And I want to make sure we get all of this out. So we're going to spread it all over the place. Get it right to the edges. It's so fun to have people in the kitchen with me. I was just saying we had 35 people for Thanksgiving, so we were a full house. So one more little dollop here, and then we're going to move on. And those lucky ladies that are in the kitchen get to take some of these home today. Here we go, and you can see how pretty they are. Now we're going to start our fudge. And this is my best memory of my brother Michael. My brother Michael's been gone a long, long time, but he used to walk in the house and he used to say, "Did Margo make her famous fudge?" And so I would say to Michael, "Yes, I did make her famous fudge." So we're going to, you can see I have a lot of glassware. You can never have too many of these batter bowls. This is the easiest recipe you're ever going to have in your lifetime. I promise you. So we're going to start out with 6 tablespoons of butter. Now, the original recipe had 4 tablespoons of butter. I landed on 6. These are all recipes are really suggestions, and so you really don't want to hold your breath on this stuff. I also have been working on my Chex Mix recipe, and I think I have it down after all these years. So if you ever want, I can give it to you and you can write it down. I finally have it. And if you think there's a difference in Worcestershire sauce in the different brands, it's a huge difference. And also, I have the Penzi Spices Seasonal Salt, which I love. But I feel like the regular Seasonal Salt is really good too. So, but there's just something about it. So we have 1 can of sweetened condensed milk, and we also have a jar of marshmallow cream.
Is it better something, but
No, it's just, this baby's going to the microwave again. We're gonna take lots of trips to the microwave. It's the only vacation I'm going on this year. We talked about a vacation, but I don't know. I think we're gonna hang out in our sanctuary again this year. I'm gonna run this over to the microwave. We're gonna put this in there for 2 minutes. While we're doing that, I can give you the recipe for the Chex mix. All right, get ready. So this is just a suggestion. Everybody makes their own, and they have their own little things that they add to it. I need to make it gluten-free. I have a brother that is gluten-free, and I have a brother-in-law that's gluten-free. So for Thanksgiving, it gave them an option. So what I use is 6 tablespoons of butter melted on the pan in the oven. So take your large pan and melt it in the oven. And after that's melted, I add 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire, which I'm gonna get it from the fridge real quick to show you which kind. It's Lee & Perrins Worcestershire, and it is so much far superior to the other flavors, I feel. I use this in a lot of other things too for cooking. I think it just adds a lot of flavor. Then the Penzeys seasonal salt. And there's just something about, I think there's probably a little more celery or something in here. I love that you can pass it around. I love the flavor of that. And add that, and then I use a whisk to whisk it. I use a teaspoon of that only. So I worked off of 3 recipes to hone down the recipes. And I thought that by adding a teaspoon and a half, it was too salty, and you have enough salt with the nuts. Then I don't add anything but the mixed nuts, because if they're gluten-free, I don't want to add pretzels. I don't want to add anything else. So I add 2 cups of the mixed nuts and 7 cups of the rice and corn Chex mix. And then I mix it together. You bake it an hour at 250, and you turn it, you blend it and turn it every 15 minutes. Besides the fact that it makes the house smell really good. So you'll notice what happened is the marshmallow cream really puffed up here. And we have to whisk it together, making sure everything's mixed together. And so what we're gonna do is add 1 whole bag of Ghirardelli milk chocolate chips. And that's the brand I really recommend. And also a half a bag of the dark chocolate, Ghirardelli dark chocolate. So we're gonna mix that in. And this is just it, man. This is it. That's it. My mom made fudge, and they had the thermometer, and it was on the top of the stove, and they stirred it forever, and it was so sugary, and it was good, you know. But no, I'm from the generation that had the Hershey's fudge in the fridge, and he took this big the serving spoon, and he walked around with it in your mouth in the afternoon after school. So I'm a chocolate crazy person, but her fudge was sugary, and I had a recipe for years and tried, and when I kind of started putting this together in my head, I'm like, oh man, we can do something different here. We are not putting the Worcestershire sauce in here. Worcestershire. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some plain fudge, and we're also gonna make some nut fudge. So I'm gonna split it up in 2 different vessels here. And I have prepared a pan. I'm a preparer. And we're gonna put these in little individual serving portions. I have in the past put it in a square lined pan, and then I just take it out, keep it cold, take it out, slice it off. But this way, these little individual pieces, I also want to recommend another thing. There's when you make Chex Mix, and when we're talking about the Chex Mix and you want to do individual servings, I would recommend serving it in a cupcake little paper, because it's individual. People aren't digging their hands in and sharing those lovely hands with each other. This way, if you put them out on a tray, people will grab it, and the portion sizes don't have to be that big either. And the only fallback for this is I have bunk beds in one of the rooms upstairs, and after everybody left for Christmas, I found an entire paper full of Chex Mix that was spread all over the sheets. So that was fun.
Oh.
I'm not sure who the culprit was at that, but you know, nobody's in trouble around here. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna have some fun here now. So we're gonna drop that over here, and we're gonna start adding these to those little portion containers. And this is the 1-inch scoop. There is the 1/2 inch. I'm gonna show you that too. I'm just gonna show you real quick. If you wanna go smaller, I've got a 1/2 inch. When I was at the shop, my cookies were the 2-inch. And that's, I don't even need that at home anymore. There's not, Lyle and I do not need a 2-inch big 4-inch cookie anymore.
Is that about a tablespoon?
I would say, yeah, probably a little more.
No more?
Yeah. We'll measure it later, Julie.
Okay.
It should be 2 tablespoons.
It might be, it's
Okay.
pretty good size. Even though this takes a little bit of time, it makes them so pretty so that when you're putting multiple things out on your little trays, these are just something that's just really cute.
Was the 7 cups of the cereal, 7 cups total?
Total, good point. Carolyn is asking about the Chex Mix with the 7 cups of each, or was it total? It's total. So technically it's 3.5 cups of each one. And I call it each one, and I'm talking about rice and corn. I don't like the wheat Chex. I don't mean to be like fussy about that, but they don't bake up as well. They kind of, I think they're just sort of, they don't bake up as well as the corn and the rice are really crisp.
And you could even add Cheerios.
Oh, but if they have gluten, I wouldn't.
Oh,
But if they don't have gluten, then they'd be perfect. Cheerios, yeah. And there's so many different flavors of Cheerios too now. I mean,
Do you throw nuts in there, or did I miss that? Can you
yeah,
throw
the
nuts?
2 cups of mixed nuts go in
Oh,
there
okay,
too.
okay.
Yep. I don't do like other people. There's so many, like our number 3 and his girlfriend, they've been together since they were in 9th grade. And I've told this story before at these classes. I've been doing these classes for 5 years, and I know that they may or may not watch this, probably not anymore. I don't want to watch Mom anymore. But anyway, they used to make puppy chow.
Oh.
And so they'd come over and they'd be in the kitchen, and you know, he'd be lipping off to her, and they'd be trying to make it, you know, and all this stuff. And then they always needed a bag of chocolate chips, you know, because they got everything else, but they needed the bag of chocolate chips. Now I'm mixing these toasted pecans. Yum, yum. Toast them. Ooh, makes the house smell good too. Also, another thing about pecans is that if you want to make something that's really going to be yummy, is take some pecans, and I have some Penzies, I'm going to grab it real quick, of cinnamon sugar. And take a handful and sprinkle cinnamon sugar, and then candy them on a low heat for about 15 minutes and flip them every 5 minutes or so. This is just ridiculous. And it is a cinnamon sugar. You can make a cinnamon sugar up by yourself too. We're gonna take a little break here, and you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna get those bars out of the oven. There's a good chance they're done. Here are the bars, and they're bubbling. They're just bubbling at the edges, and they're so pretty. I think you can see them. I'm gonna set those right in the front here. You can keep an eye on them for me. So, but what I use those candied pecans for, I'll make a chicken salad, and I'll throw an apple and celery in with a little dressing of your choice. And then at the time I eat it, we'll drop some of those pecans on there. It just adds a texture and a flavor that is nuts, just adds so much to every dish. You could also put it on top of a casserole. You could, I never break mine down. I always use the whole ones. I just think it's a little more dramatic. There's nothing about me that's dramatic though, so I don't know why I do that. It's just really sad. I'll put this right here. I'm gonna use that again. Okay, now we're gonna use the rest of these little containers. This is gonna be a little harder because they got nuts in them. The best part about this is licking the bowls because they're all, everything's really good. Now remember, this was half. There was a whole bag of milk chocolate chips and there's a half a bag of the dark chocolate. You know what I forgot to add? Can anybody guess? The vanilla. And I also forgot to add the Baileys, but you do that right away. If I didn't have 14 different distractions that I'm creating myself, they would have been added in there. And what this does is it adds a really nice glisten to it too. Even though this is still really pretty, it adds nice glisten and it heightens the flavors. The Baileys adds, I don't know, Baileys to me, like Frangelico has a nut flavor to it. And this one is it's just a creamy kind of a, oh, I don't know. I don't even know what it's made of. Does anybody know?
Coffee goes in.
Oh, is it a coffee?
It goes in.
Oh yeah, it's maybe a mocha
Yeah.
that I'm smelling in there.
Can I smell?
Yeah, you sure can.
That's good stuff.
Oh yeah, and so that's what I would add for the nuts, the fudge with the nuts.
Is it too late?
Yeah. Yeah, I could get a spray bottle and just spray it over the top. Julie asked if it was too late to add it. It's,
That's okay.
yeah, shot glass works. We can just take a shot with each bite.
There's whiskey in there.
Whiskey, okay, there's whiskey in the Bailey's.
Yeah, you put that in coffee. Oh,
Bailey's Irish Cream Coffee. Yum. All right, we're getting down to the end here. But it won't hurt it not to have it in here, but it would have been better if we did. Whenever you're doing stuff live, you always kind of, especially at my age, you kind of forget things once in a while. Well, we're down at the end of the rainbow here, and so I'm going to just pull these out. What we're gonna do now is, I don't know how many of you are gonna actually admit this, but these are gonna go out in my, the lids. These are from Rochester Restaurant, the 13 by 19, and these lids are like $5 and they are stackable. This is going out to my garage fridge, which is right here. And that garage fridge tabletop out there will be there all the way through the holidays. So we're gonna take this over and we've got the cards done, we've got the fudge done. So far, so good, huh? Now we're gonna make some mixed nuts.
are we gonna help with dishes?
Oh, they go right in the dishwasher. Julie wants to stay and help with dishes. I say we just break out the wine after we get
Oh.
done. We're just gonna stack our old trays up over here. And I've got a lot of stuff all over me already. This is what I don't have a recipe for, is the chocolate covered nuts. And I don't have a recipe for these because I eyeball it. And so I really want you to take a chance to try the classic white Ghirardelli white chocolate chips as opposed to the almond bark. I think the almond bark is a little waxier. I believe this is a little creamier. And you might want to give it a try. What I'm going to mix this with, this is a shout out to our white chocolate cashew cookie from our shop. So I'm going to do cashews for my friends that have allergies to almonds and possibly give an alternative. And then the milk chocolate, I'm going to actually use the mixed nuts again. So we're just going to go ahead, take the whole bag, and we don't know how many nuts we're going to use yet, do we? We will in a minute. Depending on your microwave, I have that in there for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Let's see, I'm gonna get another. All right. This is a really big bag, and this is a double the size, so instead of 11 ounces, well, this is 23 ounces. And the other bags are 10, so actually you get a little bit more of a value here, but I'm gonna only use half of this bag. These are really good value. They're so much more inexpensive than a single bag. And so the multiple use bags I used a lot at the shop because it was a better value.
You get those at Sam's Club or?
These are from Walmart, but you can get, I see Ghirardelli at Fiesta here. I see it at Hy-Vee. They've got it at Cub. They vary in price by $1 a bag, depending on where you get it. And so you got, I mean, it's, you got to be able to hunt around a little bit to get a good value. And it's the best. It's just, Ghirardelli is just the best. It's just the best. So now we're gonna wait another second and we're gonna pull our cashews out because our cashews are what we're gonna use in the white chocolate. And so they're gonna be next, and then we're gonna use the mixed nuts. And you know what? Who needs a recipe for chocolate and nuts, except that it's a nice option to have at the holidays. Do you remember getting the box of Russell Stover when the family had 6 kids, right? So what'd you go for the first thing? It was either the Rice Krispie thing or you went for the one with the nuts in it. And they didn't want the one with the strawberry cream in it, you know. And of course, to make things worse, I was a nurse, and so that's not bad. That's not a bad thing, but we used to get tons of boxes of chocolates. And Joe at Seavers Bowl, you're out there. I know you're gonna love this story. Every time you go back and go to the box of candy, somebody has stuck their finger in the bottom of the candies to see what it was, and they didn't want it. And there's a whole bunch of pieces that they rejected. I'd be like, I'm thinking, you know, that is just so rude.
Yeah.
But you know, if you didn't get to the box right away, Joel, what do you think? Is that true? Yeah, that's true. So it was 1.5 minutes for our white chocolate, and I'm gonna put this in for 1.5 minutes. This is our milk chocolate. We're gonna do this so fast. That's why I have time for another recipe. Chocolate doesn't take long to melt. So let's see how much we're gonna, depends on how thick you want the chocolate on your nuts. These are whole cashews. These are sea salted cashews. You guys, these nuts are such a value this year. This is only $10 at Sam's, and this one was like $11. You know, if you go to get a small bag of nuts in the store, you're spending $5. And if you don't want to use the whole thing, have it with your sister or a friend, buy it and split it. I mean, it's just, the value of it is just tremendous. I'm just gonna assume we're gonna need 2 cups for sure. How's that sound? Let's assume that. So pretty white chocolate, and this is just so shiny, and it just is with cashews. Our white chocolate cashew cookie, oh, it's a guy cookie. The men would walk in and they just be like, that's the cookie I want. And it was a girl cookie too, but there's something about nuts and chocolate together. We're so lucky, aren't we? So we're gonna also find another spot to do this because we want to reuse that. So I am going to go back to getting our chocolate. You know what? There's going to be a little chocolate on this one. We're going to dish these up. I've got some. Now these are really pretty. These are Christmas ones. You can get these at any grocery store. I'm sure I got these at TJ Maxx probably last year. And they are a little bit bigger than the ones that I put the fudge in. So we have a little more room. And you just drop. And I think, don't you think these are covered enough? We have enough chocolate. So that was 2 cups for 1 bag. You know how long this takes? No time at all. And our other chocolate's ready, so we'll be doing that in just a sec. I was thinking too, if you had a little bit of that other chocolate left, you could drizzle some over the top and make it real pretty. And I'm sure many of you make the chocolate covered pretzels too. Those are pretty too.
Chow mein noodles too.
Chow mein noodles.
My husband likes
So that was 10 ounces of the white and 10 ounces of the milk chocolate?
Yes, yep. Approximately, it could be 11, but the bag, the white chocolate bag was 11 ounces. And isn't it funny because the dark chocolate is 10 ounces. So that's 11 ounces. So if you want to be specific, it's 11 ounces. If you go with the larger bag, see, it's harder to measure. These just dispense up so well. And don't hate me for not washing my stuff in between. I mean, chocolate's chocolate, right, guys? There's no cross contamination with chocolate ever. Well, that's that. That's pretty easy, huh?
I'm amazed it stays white.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely,
I've never mixed the two together like that.
okay. Yeah, it did. Well, there's a little chocolate in that one, so. Now we're gonna go, this one was from the fudge. I think we can legitimately do the milk chocolate with the fudge one. I do have a lot of spatulas. I started looking at them. They're kind of, the Minnesota Department of Health would not ever let you use anything that's chewed up. You know, where you have, I stick them in there with our knives and you're throwing stuff in. So I've got a few I have to throw away, but at our shop, we always had to have ungnarled spatulas, and I had a lot of them. And of course, how many Pampered Chef parties did we go through over the years? A couple. Okay, it might be easier for me if I actually mix this and drop it in here. It's gonna have a little white chocolate. That'll be good. We just don't want to waste any of this.
We'll kind of have a swirl to
We
it.
could have a swirl. I could be creating a brand new suggestion for a recipe. I'm standing over here looking at my sink full of all sorts of interesting stuff. Okay,
It's all good.
so what we're gonna do is we're gonna assume that 2 cups of the mixed nuts are gonna work, right?
Mhm.
That's gonna be our go-to for that right now. And like I said, these this year have pistachios in them, which I found was interesting. I love pistachios. I've never mixed them with mixed nuts before. This is coating really, really nicely. You can see the nice thick chocolate on these. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and finish up the, oh, there's a nub.
Ooh, yeah.
We call them nubs.
Oh, there's actually a small one, big one.
Whenever there's a nub, everybody fights over it. So these are gonna be another pretty addition to your platters. And go ahead, Julie.
Well, I was just looking at what kind of nuts were in your deluxe mixed nuts. So
Yeah,
there's
why don't you read
cashews.
those off? Yeah, it's the usual.
Yeah, the cashews, almonds, pecans, that green one,
Yeah,
Pistachio.
pistachios, and what's that? Is that a macadamia nut?
yeah,
Mm.
yep, macadamias.
Wow.
These are the deluxe. I mean, they also
Wow.
have the ones with peanuts in them too. My mom, you guys will remember those nasty Spanish peanuts.
Mhm.
I mean, those things had fur on them. I mean, they were just awful. And
Skin.
they had skin on them and it was like, ugh.
Yeah.
She put it in her peanut brittle. I have to say, Mom, God rest your soul, I cannot make her peanut brittle. I tried. I just go to like Trader Joe's has peanut brittle, but so does Duluth Trading. They have peanut
Oh,
brittle
really?
at the checkout. And that's what I had last year. You know, I mean, think about what you're doing to your teeth every time you take a bite. But anyway, this is fun. It's so fun to have people here. Woo.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yes,
Yes.
we're delighted. So we're down to the last one. Isn't this fun? Are you having fun yet? Oh man, it
Wow.
smells so good in here. It's kind of ridiculous. I've used this so much now that it's starting to stick because it's had a little overuse today. So we're going to keep this out because we have to use this for the chocolate cookies too.
Mm.
So we're gonna do this. Now we're gonna look at our tray. Look at that.
Wow.
So we've got a whole bunch of yummy stuff here. We're gonna take these little two cups that we didn't use, and we're gonna get our trusty lid. And where are we going, ladies? Garage fridge.
Do you want me to wash your scoop?
Julie is having a cow that I'm gonna use that scoop without washing. I really want you to wash that scoop, Julie, please.
Do you want me to?
I do.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
I mean, just because it's.
It'll work better.
It'll
It'll,
work better.
yeah,
It's
you
not
know,
that I'm
it's the
having-
function of it that we're worried about, right? We are going to sunset the nuts for now. This is our bonus recipe today. I'm so excited. I've shared this with you at these classes so many times. But you know what? I'm gonna share it again because this is the Christmas version of this.
It's gunked up.
It is gunked up.
Yep, it'll be fine.
Julie is working her magic over there.
Good.
So we're gonna feature, in this, we're gonna feature they call them peppermint bark. I'm gonna get 3 eggs out of the fridge that I forgot. Hold on. I was gonna be all ready for you. So the beauty of this recipe is that it's only 1 cup of flour, and you know, it's not heavily laden with flour, which is nice. This was my brownie recipe, and the brownies, when I would make them, they looked terrible. And so I backed it into a cookie. And those of you that have heard that, my explanation of that, it's much prettier as a cookie. And as some of you know, I deliberately underbake my cookies so that they don't get real crispy. And that's by design. So,
Okay, let's do that.
no, you're good. You're good. It's perfect. There we go. This is good. We're ready. We're rocking. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna add a cup of sugar, and I know my whisk. I need another whisk over here.
It's probably wet.
So it'll dry. It's good. Thank you, Julie.
Hey,
You get a bonus something. I'm not sure what that is yet.
I might as well help. We're here.
You're very, thank you. So what I've done is I've added 3 eggs in here, whole eggs, and I've added 1 cup of sugar, and that's it. That's the whole base to this. So what we're gonna do is, where is my other? I'm missing something. Here it is. Okay. While we're doing that, we are gonna take 6 tablespoons of butter, and we are going to add a whole bag of the dark chocolate. And we're gonna microwave this. Surprise, we're going to the microwave again. That's just for a minute because the butter will melt a lot quicker. So,
That's a
what-
10 ounce.
yes, yeah. It might be 11 ounce. Let me check. These change all the time. Well, this one's only 10. The other one was 11. I think it's the popularity of the dark chocolate. I really do. So we're ready with the egg mixture. We're gonna do that. We're gonna get 1 more spatula. You're gonna have to forgive me. I'm gonna reuse this
You want
one.
me to wash?
That's it.
So we're just waiting for that chocolate to get melted. And so with the peppermint bark, normally I would put in a whole bag of milk chocolate chips, but I'm gonna do the peppermint bark. And what I did is I took, oh, they smell so good. What I did was take the little square, and while it was still in the package, I broke it up. And then opened the package and I just dropped it in there. So it's a rough, what I consider a rough chop. You just break it up. Because you want to have the pieces in the cookies, and you want to be able to see the pieces in the cookies. So the chocolate and butter are melted, and that was only a minute for that one. And as I'm whisking this, it's going to cool down. I'm not worried about tempering the eggs or anything like that. I don't do anything putsy. If it would scramble the eggs a little bit, I wouldn't notice that. So I know there's people that are very meticulous about that, and I really admire them. So what we're gonna do, and this smells so good, if you like dark chocolate, and that's, I have to say, that's really kind of my favorite. However, these come in milk chocolate and dark chocolate, and I've had both bags. And the dark chocolates are really good, but for this recipe, because I'm replacing the milk chocolate chips, we're putting in milk chocolate. So then we're adding the chocolate here. See, Stacy, I knew we could squeeze in another recipe. We're at 45 minutes. Woohoo! So we're just gonna mix these 2 together, the eggs, sugar, chocolate, and butter. And like I said, this used to be my brownie, so I put this in a 9x9 pan. But what happened, the top would crack and they'd be really good like the first day, and then nobody would eat it. They wouldn't look good after that. So then we're gonna take a cup of flour, and then we're gonna take also a teaspoon of baking powder. That's a little over a teaspoon. That's kind of the way I do it. And then we're gonna add this in, and what we're gonna do is add the peppermint bark at the same time. We're just gonna fold it in. Everything in the tubby over there, it's getting full.
Yeah.
So now you can see that it's really mixing together beautifully. And what happens in this house when I'm baking these, it smells ridiculous. There's just something, and this is my grandkids' favorite at the holidays, and I only do it, actually, I think this peppermint bark is only available during the holidays. And they have it for a variety of prices all over. I think the best value that I get for the Ghirardelli squares over the holidays is at TJ Maxx is typically the cheapest. And I haven't seen the prices really go up this year. They're talking about all prices are going up everywhere. I'm not seeing that there. So we're gonna take our 2 pans and we're gonna use our parchment paper, and you have to use parchment paper with these for sure because they are very fragile and they need to sit on the parchment paper for a while. So you're gonna use the 1-inch scoop again, and you've got the peppermint in there now. You're gonna have, you can see the chunks sticking out, and I'm gonna do 8 per pan. So I give them a little room to grow. It just smells so good right now. I just love these. And for at our age, we shouldn't be eating cookies at all, but you know, there's a point where you just have that sweet tooth during the day, just that little sweet tooth. It's not a big deal. It's just a little sweet tooth. So what I do is I'll make us cookies, and I'll make them in this size. And then I put them in the freezer. And so during the day, we'll pull one out, and actually cookies are almost better frozen. They're just so good. So, you know, I'm admitting I'm eating cookies, but not that much, just little ones.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. Then you feel like well, I had one lady come in one time. I told this story before. Sorry if you've heard it. One lady came in and she was like, I need 6 double chocolate cookies. She goes, that ought to last me this morning. I said, I really hope you don't mean that. But she loved them. And there was our little friends, Sarah and her kids, Sophia and Frank, they love the double chocolate cookies, and they also loved the oatmeal raisin. In fact, Frank, she was pregnant with Frank when they started coming to this shop. And so Frank grew up eating those, and he told someone one time, they're just the best oatmeal raisin cookies he ever had. You got to catch them while they're young, you know, get them hooked. Had a lot of fun over the years, watched a lot of kids grow up. It was fabulous to be able to see them this year and say goodbye to everybody. Okay, these are going in the oven. Whoa, you just not wearing it. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it won't take long, probably about 8 minutes, and we're going to be having some cookies. So that is what we're talking about today. Let's wait for the cookies. I'm opening this up for questions now. I'm sure that there might be some curiosities. This was a little chaotic, but we were just talking about the Beatles documentary that was out. And this was nothing compared to the Beatles documentary. So I'm loving watching it, but I'm dizzy by the time I'm done watching it. But I'm from the Beatles era, so I really am enjoying it. And to have all that old footage, that unbelievable. So Stacy will open it up for questions.
The oven is 350 right now.
325, but it's convection.
That's right.
And it's a little bit warm, so it should take only about 8 to 10 minutes for the cookies.
So you would think 350 for a normal oven?
Yeah, I think so, because you can usually run a convection a little bit lower and they bake a little bit faster. The oven I had at the shop was amazing. It was huge. if you ever remember watching Paula Dean's show, she had one in her kitchen. I don't even think that's fair that she got to have one of those in her kitchen. I wanted to move it here, but the ladies that are sitting here will tell you there is no space for that in here. This is my second oven. The first one I had was a Thermador here, and it was a commercial Thermador, and it was the first time they made a home version of it, and it cost as much as a used car. But anyway, I made the fatal mistake of trying to pull it out by pulling the oven door. I'll never live that one down. However, our neighbor resurrected it and put it in one of his rental units, so he was able to use it. This one is a KitchenAid. I'm happy with it. I've had it for a long time. It's really good, as long as you have the convection piece of it. But when you are making the Chex mix, you want to have it on the regular conventional oven at 250, because the actual fan in there might make it too fast. So I think we'll take a minute. If we don't have questions, I'm going to cut these. You need to cut these quick, because if you don't cut them within a short period of time, they're going to be like cement. So we're going to just cut through these. I'm using a little, this is another Pampered Chef tool that you have to have. The little spreader. And I'm going to cut these into 16, I think. We're going to do 4 and 4. How's that sound?
Margo, with the Chex mix, with a regular oven, how hot do you put it?
350, or regular oven Chex mix 250 for an hour.
Okay.
And then you turn it every 15 minutes. So if you have
Okay.
Alexa, you can tell Alexa to tell you when the timer is for the next, But then I think Alexa listens to too much of what you're talking about.
Yes,
So
she
it's
does.
probably not a good idea to have her around here. Yeah. I have her out for sporadic things. Once in a while, I like to listen to music. The kids bought it for us. They always buy the things they think we need. This cut really nicely. And you know what? I see a few of the pistachios. It's kind of pretty, kind of, you know, holiday-ish.
Now, they just came out with that mix, or?
This year, they didn't have the pistachios in it last year. The mixed nuts are just, they also have a really good value for peanuts. I think Sam's has a big, huge container of the peanuts for only like $4.60, and they're Virginia, the big Virginia peanuts. And they have them lightly salted. They have some that are unsalted. And the reason I am a Sam's shopper is because I ran a restaurant for all that time. So I'm gonna go get all of our treasures. Are we ready for all the treasures? Let's get the treasures. We're going out in the fridge.
It's a walk-in fridge.
It's a walk-in. It's good. So we have our mixed nuts that we've done. Now remember, we made the white nuts with cashews only for our friends that were allergic to other nuts. And then we have our fudge. And you can see some of the pecans sticking out of some of these. And it's pretty easy to tell which ones are the ones with nuts. Yes, sure. So I'm going to tip this up so you can see. Now these are just little white paper, like cupcake papers. Those were from the Rochester restaurant. I got a huge tube of them. I also have the bigger 500 of the white cupcake papers. They were only $5. So if you're buying the little ones in the store, if you ever want to get the big one, share it with friends. Here's the mixed nuts. You can kind of see how these are nice sized portions too. You could almost go smaller, but this is just a nice portion. And what's going to happen is when I do make this for our holiday, I will make sure that I make it a few days ahead, and I can stack them. What's nice about these lids and these containers is you can stack them in the garage, so there are multiple things. So we've got the mixed nuts cut in. This one I decided to cut into 16 pieces. It's still a nice size. We're waiting for the cookies to come out, and then we're going to be all done. So everybody got big plans for Christmas? We can still get together, I think, right? I'm
So
hoping
far.
so. So far, so good.
If you're vaccinated, yeah.
Yeah.
So the mixed nuts is a 9 by 13.
This is a 9 by 13, and then this one is a 13 by 18. So what we used to know as a jelly roll pan is really a double 9 by 13. And the 9 by 9, some of the recipes used to go with a 9 by 9. I don't see anything anymore that's a 9 by 9. I bought a bunch of these. I sold our business, and so I sold all of my pans, all my seasoned pans, everything. So I had to go. I just had to go shopping, and so I was able to buy new ones. And so what happened is I ended up getting some of these size because this is more of a family size. If you're going to make it for a big crowd, say you're going to a Christmas, this is really easy to double. Just double the recipe. And Stacy has the recipes; she can share them with you. But just double this recipe. You're going to be putting 4 cups of nuts in there because you know that we're talking about real estate here. We're talking about making sure every single one is beautiful. And so I'm thinking our cookies are probably getting done in here.
Mm.
We're gonna give them another minute. So this was a lot of stuff for a short period of time. And when I do the Christmas baking, typically I have the grandkids, I have them come over and do the cutouts. First of all, my cutouts are terrible. I don't have a good recipe, but my girlfriend and I were recently up in on Grand Avenue in St. Paul, and we went to, I always have to get, there's a special cookie I get at Bread and Chocolate. And I went in there and they didn't have it anymore. And I asked them about it because I haven't been there for a while. And she's like, we haven't had that one for a while. Everybody asks for it. I said, well, it was an almond cookie that had half of it was like dipped in chocolate. So it was one of those really pretty cookies too. And it had almond and chocolate. I just loved it. But she had a shortbread cookie and it had, I'm trying to think of what frosting was. I think it was a cream cheese frosting or a buttercream frosting. That shortbread cookie is the best cookie I've ever eaten. And so I'm going to be out now searching the next couple of weeks for a shortbread cookie recipe for my cutouts because it just melted in your mouth. It's the butter, I know, but it just totally melted in my mouth. Anytime I do the cutouts, I have the grandkids here. We mess up the kitchen. We have a lot of fun. When I do the Christmas stuff, when I'm doing all this, I probably will do it alone just because it's just such a variety of stuff. And, you know, I like them to focus on one thing. And like for Easter, we'll do the cutouts, the Easter bunny cutouts. And they're getting older now where they do the really creative tie-dye stuff. And they're a lot of fun. But usually they've messed up this kitchen a few times. We've had, like I said, at the last class, we've had a few eggs on the floor in here. But I have taught them the science of baking, which I think is incredibly important because it gives you the ability to think things through a little bit differently. And I think that's probably why I don't measure anything because I've done it for so long. It's just, you know, what a joy. So I'm smelling the cookies now. Let's get those out. And then we're going to be done. You can see they're just barely baked.
Wow.
And I'll show you, I did 8 per sheet.
Wow.
And I wish you could smell them. Joe's trying to smell them. 8 per sheet. And they'll set up a little bit. I wouldn't move them for a while. So I do have a little batter left. I'll just freeze that batter and make them later for us. But this would make 16 cookies if it's the 1 inch. If you decided you wanted to do it in the 1/2 inch, the only way that I don't think it would work with this is because the peppermint bark was a little bigger. So you'd want to do a little bit bigger cookie. But if you were just doing the regular double chocolates with the milk chocolate chips, which the recipe shows you the alternatives, you could do it easily with this if you want to do tiny ones. There's nothing about serving food at Christmas that's tiny though. And so, but this is just the start of a beautiful trays that we'll put out. The other thing is, I know you all have recipes that you've done for years and that your grandma did and your mom did and that you continue to do. My daughter-in-law, Beth, is at the day after Thanksgiving, they go to her aunt's house. The whole family, and it's a big family, it's a Sexton family. They have a fabulous day of baking and doing all of their Christmas baking together, their holiday baking. And they brought, so my granddaughter with that family is 13, and then there's one that is 8. And they have learned to bake. They're actually really, really good. I also bought for my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, I got her pastry cutter too, because she's the one I'm going to learn how to do biscuits with this winter. So But they do a whole day together and they just have a marvelous time. Her aunt has a big house, and I just heard lots of fun stories about that. So if you have traditions that you do, and we can actually get back together with people. So we had Thanksgiving here, and we had 35 people, as I mentioned, which was, I'm glad the floor joists held up. This house is 130 years old, but they did. We had only one little tears. We had tears over somebody fell for a second and then she was fine. But we had such fun and the kids had a fun time being together. So it was chaos and delicious food and lots of fun, and my siblings and their kids and grandkids, and then it was silence. And then my daughter went home, and she always checks in with me when they get home. They live in Waukesha, Wisconsin. And when she got home, she sent us all a text and said, "You're going to hear about this on the news. You may hear about this on the news." And so the Waukesha holiday parade had a terrible, horrible, horrific accident. I don't think it was an accident, but anyway, so 2 little boys, one was at my grandson's middle school, the other one was at my grandson's grade school, but 2 of the girls, where my daughter teaches at Waukesha West High School, 2 of the high school girls, one of their moms was the dancing granny, and she was killed. And so I really want us to just hug everybody and make sure that we all understand that all the joy that we still have crazy situations that are still happening that don't need to happen. But I want to wish everybody a very happy holidays, Merry Christmas. And it's really good to see everybody. And thanks for you ladies coming and joining me in the kitchen.
Oh,
Thank you for having us.
Oh, my. The only reason this is about it, 'cause
I know, that's why you sat there.
So was there just 2 on this?
I don't know. I'm not